Hey, guys. So today I want to talk about the most powerful manifestation tactic or hack that you can use to super stream, quantum leap, all your manifestations and make them happen in less time. Because here's the thing. It gets to be fun. It gets to be fun. It gets to feel good. And this is the key and the core to everything. It really is. So we're going to be talking about this key piece, this key hack, and the 4 essential pieces to make it work for you. So I let the cat out of the bag already, but the key piece to make manifestation work for you is pleasure. It's joy. It's delight. It's this feeling of overflow, this feeling I get to have more, this feeling of I'm the luckiest girl in the world. But not this bullshitty feeling where we totally ignore everything we feel. We totally push all of the challenging things off the table, that we totally, bypass our emotions, or we feel like we have to be Pollyanna perfect and positive all the time. No, that's a bunch of crap. I'm just going to say it, call it like it is. It's a bunch of crap. No, it's not about being Pollyanna positive all the time. It's about understanding that joy, pleasure, delight are always a choice and always available to you, even in the midst of chaos, even in the midst of challenge, even in the midst of difficulty. And that you, my friends, can hold space for both pleasure, joy, play, delight, fun, and challenge, grief, frustration, anger, sadness, and all of those things. Now, you might be like, what the hell? How the heck do you hold space for grief and play at the same time? Well, we've been taught as a culture that basically if you feel something, you can only feel one thing at a time. That is absolutely wrong and is absolutely disrespecting the multitudes that exist within us. Like all of these juicy layers of our experience that are so important to respect the full breadth of who we are, not just as human beings, as spiritual beings, but as highly sensitive beings and as these layered creatures that have space for so much more than we give ourselves credit for. In other cultures, there's actual words for this, like the pleasure of boredom or like the joy of sadness, but a lot of times in American culture, at least, we tend to think like you're either or you're like, boo-hoo, It's funny. They both have who at the end, and not Dr. Seuss's who's, but the point I'm trying to make is that we can have connection to the source within us, that beautiful connection to all that is, that beautiful connection to more, to spirit, to our soul, to our true nature, to our authentic truth, which is this joy and kindness and love and overflow and delight, and that I get to and make space for all of the multitude of experiences that we have in our life that might be challenging, that might be overwhelming, that might be frustrating, that might make us angry, that might make us want to just punch the wall because we're just so frustrated. And that you have space for all of that. You are truly infinite. And you're infinite in terms of what it is you can bring into your life, but you're also infinite in terms of what you can contain within you. And we don't often think about it or talk about it this way in terms of what we can hold space for within ourselves. Even something as simple as how we feel is infinite as well, which means we have infinite space for pleasure, joy, and delight. It also means we have infinite space for sadness and grief. And if you've ever lost someone close to you, you've probably experienced that before. And this is why it's important to respect the full breadth of our emotional experience, because if we don't, what happens is that we divorce ourselves from the right to have, say, the depths of our grief. And if we feel like we can't have the depths of our grief, we then end up shooting ourselves and feeling shame for our emotions, or we cut ourselves off from those emotions, which are more challenging. And what happens when you cut yourself off from one end of the spectrum is you cut yourself off from the other end of the spectrum. You end up narrowing your emotional bandwidth. You end up narrowing your emotional, basically range. And so you can't feel as much joy or pleasure or gratitude or appreciation or love because you don't allow space for all of it, which means you can't ever manifest what you want, because ultimately what you want, it might be money, it might be a business, it might be impact, but ultimately it's to feel good in the having of those things. And if you can't allow yourself to feel really freaking good because you won't allow yourself to feel all the things, well, guess what's going to happen? You're never going to have the manifestations that you want. So now to the 4 essential pieces of, really making this work for you, and going back to why this is important. This really turns this whole manifestation law of attraction thing on its head, because it's no longer coming from the place of I have to have the thing in order to be happy, or I have to, I'm basically outsourcing my power to money, status, fame, people, a lover, I don't know, losing weight, whatever it might be. Instead, it's saying I always have that accessible within me. And when I light that up, like that fire, spark that, that sparkler can draw out the reality that I want outside of me in any way, shape, or form. A big part of this is really shifting from what I call the problem paradigm. We're always looking for more problems. It's always heavy. It's always hard, to not just the possibility paradigm where things are possible, which means they never happen because that means they're always over there, to the pleasure paradigm. Because when we are in a state of pleasure, play, delight, we're always present. We're always present. We're always here, right now. And when we are right here, right now, and we're fully present, what happens is that we're always creating our reality, speaking our reality in the present moment. Because when we are looking at the future, trying to create something in the future, it always exists in the future. It's sort of like the whole, you ever see those memes? Free beer tomorrow? Well, it's always today. Tomorrow never is here, so there's never any free beer. So when you say, I can't wait to achieve, guess what? It's always over there. It's not, tomorrow I'm going to have. Guess what? Tomorrow's always over there. It's never here. Possibility is always over there. Pleasure is presence. Pleasure is here and right now. And so when we seek out this state of delight, what happens is we're moving into a state of presence, and we're moving into a state of safety in the present moment, that it's safe enough to experience delight and it's safe enough to experience pleasure. And we step through into the nourishment and nurturance of the safety of delight. And so what happens is that there's key components to making this happen. You guys are probably familiar with these by now, but it's an important reminder. The first one is really regulating our nervous system so that we feel safe in the having of the thing here now. But more importantly, so that we feel safe inviting pleasure and relaxation and delight in without feeling as though it's something that we have to pay for, or it's something that we have to trade something for, or it's something that there's some kind of transaction needed, or worthiness needs to be earned before we're allowed to have it. The second piece is just really opening up that inner channel within us, really allowing our feelings to get on board, allowing that openness to seep through every cell, and to allow ourselves to get those beautiful goosebumps, that body activation that shows us that we're on our path. You'll notice I just said body activation. First piece being nervous system regulation. Nervous system regulation works through the wisdom of your body. Opening your channel also works through the wisdom of your body. We need to understand that we need to become embodied in our pleasure, in our delight. Not just think about it. Just think that sounds like a good idea, but feel it. And that's why I spent so much time talking about the feelings earlier today, is because we need to feel. We need to feel it in our bodies. We need to feel it in our feelings. We need to feel it in our being. We need to feel it in our spirit and our soul. That is when we are truly supercharged to create our manifestations and bring them to life. The third piece that you need in order to step into more pleasure and delight is to release all the shit. Release all the shit that gets in the way. The self-doubt, the fear, the impatience, the self-judgment, the embarrassment if things don't go according to plan, or the shame or the ego that says I should be doing better. Self-judgment tells us we should be doing better. That inner critical voice, only using the mind, the wishing upon a star and hoping it happens. That's the possibility paradigm, people. That's a triple P. And not the pleasure paradigm. Not taking responsibility that this all comes down to us. It's all sourced from within. Being future focused instead of present focused, as we've talked about. Convincing that more effort is the only way to have what we want. Or to feel as though getting the wobbles means that we're never going to have what we want, instead of making space for I can believe it, and make space for having a bit of the wobbles and return to my belief again. Having the wobbles doesn't mean anything about me and doesn't mean that I am now stuck in self-doubt either. And the last piece here is aligned action, is alignment and action. Aligned action feeling nourishing, nurturing, open, receiving, flowing, beautiful, amazing, delightful, in the moment, pleasurable. Effort feeling more depleting, feeling as though it's like a leaky bucket that you're constantly having to fill up, feeling like a boulder that you have to push uphill. Aligned action also feeling like you don't have to carry the burden yourself. When you're not taking aligned action, when you're feeling as though it's all on your back, it feels like you're carrying the boulder on your back. You're like Sisyphus, pushing that boulder uphill only to have it only to have it roll back on you time after time once you get it to the top. The thing is when we open up that channel, which we talked about earlier, we no longer feel like that boulder is on our back and we have to carry it by ourselves, because we realize that we are part of the multitudes. We are part of everything, which means that we're only carrying one speck of sand, because that weight is distributed across everything, because you're part of it. You're inextricably part of it, and you're not alone. And so that is what aligned action feels like, is knowing you're not alone and knowing you're supported and knowing that this isn't a burden and that it's always something that you can carry. You are so powerful. And I just want to reiterate this. You are so epically powerful. There is so much that comes down to taking responsibility for nurturing our power, for opening to our power, to opening to this guidance that we receive, to opening to the fact that we get to have a life and business that lights us up, that makes us feel really good, that makes our life a joy, that you deserve to have that and that you get to have that. And if there's any part of you that doubts that, shine a light there. Get curious. Take a look. Because I guarantee on the other side of that lies those opportunities that you're looking for, and lies the portals through which your manifestations will happen.